Well, the story of Robert Durst, it keeps getting more bizarre if that's possible. Now, for those of you who don't remember, and I know most of you do, especially if you saw that HBO special, he is that millionaire from a big-time New York real estate family who keeps winding up in the middle of murder and disappearance cases. His first wife, Kathleen, disappeared without a trace from the Westchester home back in '82, and Durst didn't report it for 5 whole days. Then there's Susan Berman. She was Durst's longtime friend until she was murdered in California back in 2000. Durst, well, where you ask he is right now, he's in a Louisiana jail awaiting weapons charges, and that has to be resolved before he can be extradited to California to possibly face a trial in the Berman case. And don't forget about Durst admitting to killing and dismembering, decapitating a guy by the name of Morris Black, a neighbor in Galveston, Texas in 2001. He claimed self-defense, and I don't know how, I got to talk to that attorney, he got him acquitted, okay? And again, he was decapitated, and the body and the head were not in the same place, okay? Not even close. All right, I'm besides the point, I guess.
The body and the head were threatening.
Yes, exactly. Now, this whole story was told in the HBO documentary called The Jinx. Now, in it, he appeared to admit to what he did. Take a look and listen to this now infamous clip.
What the hell did I do? Kill them all. Of course.
While in the bathroom.
Yes, yes, exactly. He did. That's the whole thing. Always remember to take off the microphone. Okay. Well, that show put Durst back on the front pages and also featured former Westchester DA JEANINE PIRRO, who for years crusaded for justice for Kathleen Durst and other victims. Now, she has a controversial new book called He Killed Them All, as you just heard a reference to that soundbite, details all of that in the hunt for conviction of Durst. And it also, in it, does not spare criticism for former colleagues when she was back in Westchester on the case, including the original state police investigator, Joe Becerra, who reopened the case, which no one denies, back in '99. Now, again, as I mentioned, tomorrow we will talk to Jeanine Pinero, or whatever, Pirro, I can't speak here. She'll be live with me in the studio. But I want to get to our panel to discuss this, and we have connections. Let's get on the table. Your wife, former ADA under Ms. Pirro, and you also worked as an ADA under Ms. Pirro. Okay. First up on a generic thing, is it more, and all of you were ADAs, would you guys agree that it's the rarity, it's the exception, not the norm, of a DA who enjoys the limelight, who wants to get in front of the camera, and when there's a bust or whatever, that they want to be front and center? Is it the exception that that's not the rule for?
It used to be the exception, clearly, but now it's becoming less the exception. And it's the same thing after you have Judge Judy, you have more judges who are almost torn as to whether they are entertaining in the courtroom or they're actually being judges in the courtroom. So now district attorneys are personalities, and quite often they're looking to do something other than be the district attorney, moving on to the Senate, governor, TV, things along those lines.
You could see, by the way, a Judge Mayo syndicated show.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, she's a TV personality. I mean, so...
Even then?
Sure. Sure, she's made a choice to leave the public life.
No, but I'm saying going back to the days of as a DA.
Oh, well, I think she pioneered it, to tell you the truth, because back then it was not the norm. Now,
right, she pioneered the politician DA.
Right.
You know, pandering to the crowds, pandering to the electorate, and to the country, and she made a big name for herself. I mean, she created some opportunities for herself.
Candidate for U.S. Senate before page 10.
The office actually had a press bureau. So people who were liaisons,
which was not the norm at the time.
Absolutely not the norm, and still not the norm.
Okay, let's get to some of the facts that she alleges in the book here. That the investigator who we showed, who by all accounts, and you know more than I, back in '99 reopened a case that was in effect a cold case at that point, and she claims in the book, we don't have time for all the details here, that he became too much of a show pony, and she removed him from the case. You know the principles involved. What was your take?
Well, I think that if there was an issue of Investigator Becerra becoming too much of a show pony, the District Attorney's Office in Westchester County has a full staff of DA investigators. They're equally capable of investigating or assisting. So there were a host of different things that could have been done there. And again, it was an office that was very much in the media. You were probably as likely to see the District Attorney's Office under Jeanine Pirro in the news as you was.
But did that guy deserve to be thanked or canned?
Well, you know, I think at the end of the day, it's not fair to law enforcement to second guess their every step. So you look at these cases, if it was that easy, he would have been charged and there would have been a trial. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. Again, he's a person who went to trial and won after dismembering his neighbor. It's very easy to look back, hindsight's 20/20, and again, to cast aspersions to anybody. I would like to believe that everybody involved was involved for the right reasons, that Jeanine Pirro was looking for justice, as was the state police in this investigation.
He's so diplomatic.
Oh my God.
He's
That was
so
such a good answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And usually he can say things that aren't diplomatic,
should
but
be
he
the
says it in such an easy tone.
You should be
you
the
know,
You can't tell.
spokesperson.
Yeah.
You can't tell. I think she's made herself a potential witness. I'll go that far. I mean, in this book, my understanding is that she pretty much dumps on everybody that investigated this case.
including the original co-author
That's
of
right.
the book who was involved as well.
That's right. And, you know, she was the DA. She therefore has some personal knowledge as to what was going on with respect to the investigation. She took people off the case for specific reasons. And we were just talking before, I think maybe off camera, about why certain people find themselves on witness lists. It would not at all surprise me if Ms. Pirro was the recipient of a subpoena ducis tecum, if the District Attorney's Office of Westchester County was not also subpoenaed
What is
to turn
ducis
over.
tecum?
I'm sorry, it's a subpoena to turn over documents as opposed to just testify, and she may find herself on the witness list under subpoena to testify.
Doug, I got to imagine, we've heard some grumblings that the folks in California that are prosecuting that particular case aren't too crazy about the book. It would only complicate matters, right?
Well, it makes, first off, when you're attacking people that work on cases, you're attacking the credibility of people that are collecting evidence. If you try cases in the court of law, that becomes a big deal. Where was the evidence? Where'd they find it? So when you have a book that's just kind of saying this person's bad, without even talking about the proofs you have in the case, it's not really good for anybody.
And you have an ongoing investigation, obviously in a totally different jurisdiction. To Jimmy's point here, that's going to be tougher to secure a conviction. I got to think when all the defense has to do is open up the book and say, you know,
really, when you talk about things like this, people don't realize it can be very difficult to get all of the evidence you want admitted in a court in front of a jury and have a jury talk. That's difficult enough without putting personalities and sort of, who's good and who's bad. That's a whole other layer of something that you want to try to avoid.
All right. I want to jump to a break here, and again, we'll be having that conversation tomorrow with the former district attorney. But when we come back, workers fighting for their rights, but businesses are finding ways to keep them, forget about winning, but even suing and keeping them out of court altogether. Now, Supreme Court case could change all of that. We're going to tell you about that straight ahead.